She stood at the gate, a low-ranking guard among towering walls, barely noticed by the soldiers passing by. But when the commander approached, something happened no one expected. He raised his hand in a crisp salute. To her, the entire unit froze. Why would a seasoned commander salute a gate guard first? What secret was she carrying that demanded such respect? The morning sun was just beginning to climb over the fortress walls, spilling light across the iron gates. The air carried a stillness that only came before a long day of marching orders and the steady rhythm of boots against stone. For most soldiers this was routine, a blur of discipline, commands, and duty. But for her, standing at the gate, it was another day of being invisible. She wasn't a commander. She wasn't decorated with medals. Nor did she carry a legacy etched into the chronicles of war. She was simply the guard. A quiet figure posted at the entrance, tasked with scanning papers, nodding to familiar faces, and watching the world pass by. To her comrades, she was a shadow of the walls themselves, there but rarely acknowledged. Her uniform was pressed but plain, her posture sharp yet humble. She had mastered the art of presence without noise, of discipline without demand. And because of that, she had learned something others hadn't, to listen. She heard the whispers of recruits anxious about their training, the laughter of seasoned soldiers masking old wounds, and the muffled grief of men and women who carried battles home in their silence. That morning, as she adjusted the strap of her rifle and shifted her weight against the cobbled ground, she noticed a stir at the far end of the road. The commander was approaching. Now, commanders didn't slow down for anyone. They walked with a force that parted crowds, their very presence enough to straighten spines and silence conversations. Soldiers often rushed to salute them first, eager to show respect before it was demanded. But this time something strange happened. The commander stopped in front of the gate. His eyes, sharp and calculating, rested not on the walls, not on the guards clustered in groups nearby, but on her. And then, with deliberate precision, he raised his hand. A salute. To her. The air froze. The soldiers nearby fell into silence, eyes darting between the commander and the gate guard. No one spoke, but everyone wondered the same thing. Why her? Salutes weren't given lightly. A salute was recognition, a gesture that said, I see you. I honor you. I acknowledge your place in this chain of command and in this story we are writing together. For a commander to salute first, it was more than unusual. It was unheard of. She felt her heart thud in her chest, but her face remained calm. Years of discipline kept her from breaking posture, though her thoughts raced. Had she done something wrong? Was this a test? Or had the commander just revealed something no one else knew? Whatever the reason, in that moment the invisible guard was invisible no more. And as whispers rippled across the courtyard, a single truth began to emerge. Sometimes the greatest honor isn't about rank, medals, or titles. Sometimes it belongs to those who guard the gates, holding a quiet power that even commanders must respect. Long before she stood watch at the fortress gate, she was simply known as Amina. Born in a small village beyond the eastern hills, her life was shaped by silence more than words. Her father was a farmer, her mother a healer. From them, she learned two things: the value of patience and the strength hidden in service. She had never sought power or recognition. In fact, Amina preferred the edges of the crowd, the quiet corners where she could observe more than she spoke. Yet, it was in those unnoticed spaces that she developed her sharpest skill, attention. She noticed things others missed. The soldier limping ever so slightly after drills, the way a recruit's hands trembled before his first march, the hesitation in a leader's voice when orders weighed too heavily. Her path to the military was not ambition but duty. When her village was threatened during the border conflicts, she was among the first to volunteer, not because she was the strongest, but because she couldn't stand still when others suffered. Training was brutal. Many underestimated her slight frame and quiet demeanor. But while others crumbled under pressure, she endured. She didn't win every test of strength, but she never surrendered. It wasn't her physicality that earned her a place at the fortress. It was her unshakable discipline. Amina became known among the ranks as the one who never faltered on watch, never cut corners, never abandoned her post even during storms that drove others to shelter. She treated her position not as a mere assignment, but as a sacred trust. The gate wasn't just an entrance. To her, it was a line between chaos and order, between danger and safety. But behind her stoicism lay sacrifice. Few knew that during a raid years earlier, she had shielded wounded recruits with her own body, holding the line long enough for reinforcements to arrive. She bore scars beneath her uniform that no medal ever acknowledged. And though her name was absent from the official records, word spread quietly among the soldiers. This was the guard who stood firm when others would have fallen. What made Amina remarkable wasn't a single act of bravery, but the consistency of her character. She wasn't chasing glory. She didn't need applause. Her loyalty was to the duty itself, to the principle that a fortress is only as strong as the one who guards its weakest point. And so, day after day, she stood at the gate, not seeking recognition, not demanding respect, but embodying it in every breath, every glance, every step of her watch. The commander who saluted her that morning knew this. He remembered the whispers, the stories passed along in mess halls and night watches. He remembered the soldiers she had protected, the recruits she had encouraged, the dignity she carried even in silence. To everyone else, she was just the gate guard. To him, she was something far greater, the unshakable pillar of the fortress. From the commander's vantage point, the salute was never a spontaneous gesture. It was deliberate, calculated, a recognition long overdue. Commanders are trained to read people as carefully as they read battle maps. They must distinguish between arrogance and confidence, fear and caution, loyalty and ambition. Over the years, this commander had seen countless soldiers rise and fall. Some craved medals more than duty. Others sought titles more than service. But he had also seen a rare few, those who carried their duty like a silent oath, unbroken and unspoken. Amina was one of them. He remembered the raid years earlier. The chaos, the wounded recruits, the sound of arrows thudding against wooden shields. He had not been there in person, but the story had reached him. The gate guard who didn't run. Soldiers spoke of her with a quiet reverence, as though she were a living reminder of what it meant to serve. And so, each morning when he passed the fortress gate, he took notice. While others overlooked her, the commander watched. She never slouched, never let her eyes wander. In storms, she stood drenched but unbroken. In heat, she stood still while sweat streamed down her face. In silence, she embodied vigilance. To most, a salute was an automatic ritual. The lower rank saluted first, the superior returned it. But when he saluted her, he was sending a different message, not of hierarchy, but of honor. He was telling his soldiers, "Look at her. This is what true service looks like. This is the backbone of our strength." The courtyard fell quiet that morning not just because of the salute, but because of what it meant. Soldiers who had overlooked her now realized they had been standing beside greatness disguised in plain uniform. Some lowered their heads, ashamed they had never acknowledged her before. Others straightened their spines, inspired to match her discipline. For Amina, the salute was a shock, but also a revelation. She had never sought recognition, yet in that single gesture, her years of invisible service had been seen. Not with applause, not with medals, but with the simplest, most profound acknowledgement: respect. The commander knew the importance of symbolism. Wars were not only fought with weapons but with morale, with stories soldiers carried into battle. By saluting her first, he had planted a story that would outlast the morning. It would become a lesson whispered to new recruits, a reminder that greatness doesn't always stand on podiums. Sometimes it guards the gate. As the commander lowered his hand, silence still lingered. Amina returned the salute, crisp and steady, her face calm though her heart raced. Around her, the soldiers finally saw what the commander had seen all along. In that moment, she was no longer just the gatekeeper. She was the fortress itself, unyielding, steadfast, and worthy of the salute of even the highest commander.